Hey guys, I'm Law, and welcome back. This is What If Tatsumi Was Archer's Reincarnation, Part 5, and where we last left off was where Esdeath would appear behind Tatsumi in the rocky areas. So, let's begin. Hope you enjoy. Esdeath would see Tatsumi and would immediately start to blush and ask Tatsumi what he was doing here. Tatsumi was a little taken aback by this, but remained composed, answered her, saying that he was out here to do some training on his own. Esdeath then walked towards Tatsumi and started to observe him. My, you really have gotten stronger, Tatsumi, Esdeath said while she was feeling Tatsumi's muscles, and soon suddenly grabbed him into a hug. You know, for someone who can create ice, you're pretty warm, Tatsumi said with a small smile on his face. Esdeath blushed by this and hugged Tatsumi even tighter. But as they were embracing each other, 3 large danger beasts appeared behind them, and Esdeath, being annoyed by this, took out her sword and swiftly cut down all the danger beasts in less than 2 seconds. Wow, she's amazing when she's fighting. Even I might have trouble with her if I don't go all out, Tatsumi thought to himself. Right after Esdeath took care of the danger beast, a man in a yellow cloak came out as he was hiding behind a rock. Tatsumi asked, "Who are you?" To which the man responded by taking out a device from his pocket to let out a large, bright purple light underneath Esdeath and Tatsumi. The light then got brighter, engulfing both Tatsumi and Esdeath, as when the light was gone, both of them looked at their surroundings to notice that they were on a beach in what seemed to be a deserted island. Esdeath then created a giant ice tower from below Tatsumi and herself, as they were trying to discover where exactly they were. And suddenly, one of the new danger beasts, almost the size of the giant tower, was emerging from the water in the sea. Esdeath then summoned hundreds and hundreds of giant ice shards and shot them directly at the danger beast, making it fall over. The beast then barely got up, and Esdeath was about to finish it, but Tatsumi summoned his bow and one broken phantasm and shot the sword at the beast, creating a huge explosion, blowing away the beast's entire top half. Esdeath was impressed by this and wanted to ask Tatsumi questions, but before she could, another one of those giant beasts appeared, and Esdeath quickly took care of it, creating a giant ball of ice in an instant, way bigger than the creature, in order to completely crush it. Then realized that they were the only ones on the island and far away from the capital, that they had to wait for a portal to open from the same spot they were sent from. This obviously wouldn't be happening anytime soon, so both of them went to explore the island together. They hunted some danger beasts, explored, observed some small animals, and ate some of the island's fruits, which Tatsumi was able to make a delicious fruit salad. It was then the evening, and both Esdeath and Tatsumi went back to the same spot where they arrived, to which Esdeath asked Tatsumi how he was able to summon that weapon. Tatsumi was a little hesitant to answer, but replied that it was a special ability in order for him to create replicas of weapons and armors. It's just an ability he had since he was a kid. Esdeath accepted this answer, which then led to them talking some more, and eventually doing some stamina training until it was the middle of the night. An hour later, the same purple light appeared from the spot they were, and both engulfed them. However, when the light dispersed, Esdeath arrived at the rocky area alone, not seeing Tatsumi. Tatsumi was using reinforcement magic and projected in Curcio, as he was fast enough to turn invisible to hide behind the rock. Esdeath then left, as she hoped to see Tatsumi again in the future. Tatsumi then went back to the base and told him what happened when he was away, not involving the quote stamina training. A couple of days later, all of the new species of danger beasts would be exterminated, and Night Raid would have a new mission to kill an assistant leader of a religious organization who have been drugging people for his own selfish deeds. Night Raid would also use this opportunity to take out the Jaeger members, as they were said to protect the leader of the organization. The Jaegers split into 2 teams, with Wave, Kurume, and Bowls going to the direction Night Raid was planning to ambush them, which was in the rocky canyon. The ambush began with Susanoo attacking Wave, sending him flying, sending him flying quite a few kilometers away from Night Raid. Then they started to attack both Bulls and Kurume, with Kurume summoning her undead minions to attack Night Raid. Considering all the Night Raid members were alive, they were able to deal with both Bulls and Kurume and her army with little to no difficulty. As Tatsumi then saw Locke and Leone fighting Bulls, Tatsumi then went to them and told them to stop, which led to Tatsumi trying to convince Bulls to join them, as he knew Bulls was genuinely a good person. Bulls truly wanted to join, but he has already committed too many hideous crimes, as he was already part of the capital's corruption, and even if he wanted to join them, if the capital were to hear of this, they may go after his wife and daughter, so Bulls had to see this through the end. Tatsumi was saddened by this, but he had to respect Bulls' wishes. Tatsumi then proceeded to project Kanche and charged towards Bulls at full speed with his Roias, blocking his flames as he was close enough to slice Bulls' Imperial's arms, cutting both Bulls from his chest as Bulls was now dead. Kurume would have a hard time as she was fighting both Akame and Shell. Akame tried to talk with Kurume about how they don't have to fight, but Kurume didn't budge and still tried to kill Akame. Akame was very saddened by this and felt dejected, but she could have ended the fight a lot quicker, but subconsciously was holding back. Akame then had a tear in her eyes as she cut Kurume's stomach, as the poison then spread around her body. But before she could die, she heard Akame saying, "I'm sorry, dear sister," as Kurume then dropped to the ground and died. Akame looked dejected, having tears in her eyes, but was soon comforted by the other members of Night Raid. Night Raid then went back to their base, as they couldn't complete their mission of taking out the assistant leader of the religious organization, as they assumed Esdeath and Seri were already there. Once they arrived at the base, Najida got word that the assistant leader has been taken to the capital, being guarded by Esdeath and her subordinates. She also got word that the Empire's forces are gathered together, protecting both the minister and the Empire, and the Child Emperor. Reason being is that both Night Raid and the Revolutionary Army were able to take down most of the Empire's powerful forces, including 3 of the 7 Jaeger members, so the Empire was in quite a tight spot. Najida, being pleased by this, announced to all the members of Night Raid that they would probably have their last mission tomorrow. The mission was to infiltrate the palace of the Empire and kill the minister and take the Child Emperor hostage, while taking out targets of the military. Then the rest of the Revolutionary Army would arrive, as then the capital would be forced to surrender, freeing the country from its corrupted hands. The members of Night Raid were happy to hear this, as they celebrated by Susanoo cooking all of their favorite meals, and every one of the members of Night Raid would begin to talk to each other and just have a pretty good time enjoying each other's company. Nothing like a damn nice cold one after successfully completing all missions in a hitch without any of us dying, Leone said while looking a bit tipsy, holding a pint of beer. "And we owe it all thanks to this guy," Leone said while wrapping her arm around Tatsumi's neck. "What?" Tatsumi said, confused. "Well, ever since you joined, quite a majority of us have gone significantly stronger," Kame said. "Also, if it weren't for you, both me and mine would have surely died that night," Shell said. "Plus, you've also been a good team member and a friend," Ulok said, smiling. Tatsumi was a little embarrassed, but felt that he couldn't be any happier, having such great friends by his side. "Damn, you guys, I'm not that great." "Don't sell yourself short, Tatsumi," Najida spoke. "We truly are thankful to have you a part of our team." Tatsumi scratched the back of his head, trying to hide his bashful smile, but all the members could tell he probably felt like he was the happiest man alive. "I should be thankful to you guys," Tatsumi said in a whisper that could barely be heard, but some of the members were able to hear but didn't press him to ask what he meant. Tatsumi then thought about all the good memories he's had in his village and with Night Raid, and almost felt as if going through all that suffering was worth it to feel the amount of happiness he felt right now. Almost as if he'd been searching for for so long to finally find salvation. Salvation, huh? Wait, maybe. Tatsumi then had a thought to test out something, but he would do it after dinner with Night Raid, which lasted around 35 minutes. Tatsumi was outside, a couple of feet away from the base, and Shell went out to look for him to do some, quote, stamina training. As when she did, she saw him, but before she can call out to his name, she saw some sort of chant. He saw him saying some sort of chant, and saw him being surrounded by some dark purple mist and some neon green lightning. When he finished his chant, he suddenly disappeared. Shell was wide-eyed and was about to go to the members of Night Raid until Tatsumi then reappeared. Shell then ran towards Tatsumi and asked what just happened, to which he responded saying it's one of his trump cards. Shell tried to ask him more questions, but Tatsumi gave vague answers until she finally gave up. He then went back to his room to see mine, as they then proceeded to do some stamina training until the middle of the night, as they all finally went back to sleep. It was the next morning, at around 6 AM. The plan to infiltrate the base would go like this. They would split up into groups and find different routes to enter while taking out certain targets. They would be at the palace by 9, and the Revolutionary Army all agreed, and the Revolutionary Army would arrive a couple of minutes after that. And they all left the base, and they all did as they were told, with Tatsumi's group being Lubbock and Leone. They arrived at the capital only 2 kilometers away from the palace near a forest. They were about to proceed until suddenly they were ambushed by some soldiers and 2 men, with one having an X-shaped scar on his face and one very tall with bulky armor. These 2 men were Syria and General Budo. Syria being the one who teleported both Tatsumi and Esdeath to that island. I assume you agree on Night Raid, correct? Syria said with a cocky attitude. My reputation in the capital is gonna skyrocket when I have your heads, he continued. They both activated their Imperial arms. They both activated their Imperial arms. Syria had one where he can teleport anywhere depending on where he marked, and General Budo being able to emit lightning from his armor. They engaged in the battle, with Tatsumi taking on Budo and Lubbock and Leone taking on Syria once Leone quickly made work of the soldiers. As Tatsumi was fighting Budo, he was having a little more trouble than he thought when he was using reinforcement magic on himself and his swords. Budo had good reaction time and also had amazing defense. Tatsumi then continued his barrage of attacks, dodging attacks sent at him until he said, "I am the bone of my sword." And twin swords appeared behind Tatsumi, launching themselves at Budo and the ground, creating miniature explosions. Budo was barely able to tank the attacks, but was caught in the smoke. But before he can react to the next oncoming attack, it was too late. Concha was already went through Budo's head, as he was now dead. Tatsumi then looked to see Leone and Lubbock finish off Syria and the rest of the soldiers. As once they regrouped, they made their way to the palace of the capital. At a different location, Mine and Shell were also about to enter the palace until they were ambushed by Seiryu and Kuro. When Seiryu saw Shell was still alive and had another pair of giant scissors, she was confused and a little on edge, but quickly went on to a rant about how she was executing justice. As both teams began to fight, Shell and Mine were doing a lot better than their first encounter. Not only did they have the experience, but information, as Tatsumi told them where all of Seiryu's weapons were, and that Kuro's core was located in his left foot. Mine took out Kuro, and Shell defeated Seiryu by cutting her in half, as she was now dead. The 2 girls then continued to make their way to the palace, as the remaining members of Night Raid made their way inside the palace, taking out some soldiers and other important figures that were targets of the Revolutionary Army. As they continued to do so, they eventually ran into a wave and run. 2 two of the remaining members of the Jaegers. Night Raid was about to engage in combat, but Rodden told them he was no longer a part of the Imperial Army anymore and wanted to join them. They were a bit skeptical, but allowed them as they weren't necessary targets of the Revolutionary Army. They then made their way inside the palace and to look for both the Minister and the Child Emperor, killing as many guards as possible. They arrived by breaking down a huge door to see both the Minister and the Emperor in a slight panic, but before they can engage in combat, the Child Emperor activated his own Imperial arms. Suddenly the ground started to shake, and the Emperor was covered in armor that began to rise, wrecking everything that's in its path, forcing Night Raid to retreat outside, where it to be revealed a giant black armored Imperial arms that could be seen across the capital for miles and miles. The Emperor then started to attack Night Raid and anyone that opposed him, destroying everything in its path. Night Raid saw this and immediately knew the remaining members of Night Raid saw this and immediately knew what was happening and started to attack the giant's Imperial arms, but barely did anything. Heck, even one of Tatsumi's broken phantasms was barely able to damage the armor. So Tatsumi then tried a different approach. He used Treson on the Imperial arms and noticed a weak spot, which was the lower abdominal of the armor. He then told Leone and Lubbock to meet with the other members of Night Raid and try to evacuate as many people as possible, to which they did. 5 minutes later, the Emperor was still attacking, and Tatsumi was on a clock tower and was about to shoot the Imperial arms with another broken phantasm, this time adding more mana into the arrow. As when he released it, the arrow arrived at the lower abdominal, causing an explosion, also making the Imperial arms unable to move, causing it to fall over, but most of the citizens were already evacuated, so there weren't too many casualties. The members of Night Raid then arrived at the broken Imperial arms and were able to secure the Emperor, with Najida telling Leone and Block to look for the Minister and kill him. Tatsumi then meets up with the members of Night Raid to fight both Run and Wave there as well. Tatsumi took a walk to see the amount of destruction the Imperial arms had done. Near the now half destroyed palace of the capital, to meet Esdeath. The reason why she wasn't in the fight earlier is because she had to deal with some revolutionary soldiers in the outskirts, and had just arrived at the middle of the fight between Night Raid and the Emperor. This is unprecedented. To think that the one who stole my heart is also a member of Night Raid, Esdeath said. Give it up, Esdeath. The Minister no longer has control over this country. Why don't you come with me? We can start a new life. We can go on different adventures, earn money, and fight powerful danger beasts together. Tatsumi said, as much as I would want that, I am very loyal to the capital, and will fight to the end, even if that means killing you, Tatsumi, Esdeath spoke. Tatsumi knew that she couldn't be convinced with her words, so the only way to get her to his side was to fight her and win. Alright then, let's begin, Tatsumi said, as the two then charged to each other, engaging in a furious clash of swords. Esdeath also shot hundreds of ice projectiles at Tatsumi, but Tatsumi was fast enough to both dodge and parry each of the attacks. Both of them weren't able to leave a mark on either opponent, as Esdeath was good, really good, possibly the most challenging opponent he had to face ever since he entered into this world. Tatsumi then decided it was time to use his trump card. He created some of his projected 10 swords, which shot at Esdeath, but she blocked them with a giant ice wall. Tatsumi then lifted up his hand, and the sentence that came out of his mouth was, I am the bone of my sword. And that's it for this video. Part 6 is going to be the finale. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I'm Law, and peace out.